Good morning, everyone. My name is Dana Knowles. I am Vice President here at the Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce. We are excited to bring you our Creating Compelling Vision webinar today. This is the fourth in a series that we've been doing over the course of the last several weeks. The topics that we've put together for this business recovery series, we hope have been focused on ways that will help you close out 2020 and of course, in today, prepping for 2021 and beyond. So we appreciate everyone who has jumped on with us. We look forward to hearing from Kay in a minute. But before we start that, I just want to say thank you to our sponsors, Leon Cares and Capital Health Plan. We have Stacy Hammond with us today from Capital Health Plan, and I am going to turn it over to her for just a quick second to kind of give us an update on how things are going. Stacy?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here with you, and I'm looking forward to today's program. My name is Stacy Hammond, and I'm part of the sales and account management team here at Capital Health Plan. On behalf of all of us at CHP, I'd first like to say that we hope you and your families are staying safe and healthy. As the only local health plan here in the Florida Panhandle and a trusted partner to many of you, we are proud to be a uniting force in our community. We want to remind you how critical it is to continue following the CDC guidelines with things like practicing social distancing, wearing a mask in public, especially as the holidays are coming up. And we know everybody wants to gather together with friends and loved ones. To help make care more accessible and affordable to our members, Capital Health Plan is actually waiving the co-payments for virtual telehealth visits through March 31st, 2021. So, and as most of you probably already know, telehealth enables you as a patient to utilize online services and avoid unnecessary in-person contact. This is especially important during the flu season and amid this ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. For many employers, this time of year also brings another important season in the area of public health, which is determining the best healthcare options to offer through your company to your employees and their families. If you would like more information on the benefit plans that CHP offers to employer groups, or if you're already a member of CHP and would like more information on how to utilize your benefits, just give us a call, contact one of our member service staff or one of the members of our sales and account management team, or you can visit us at capitalhealth.com. As we continue through these tough times together, we at CHP are here to help. So we wish you and your family the best. Please stay safe and stay healthy. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you, Stacy. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Just a couple of housekeeping items. Again, we are recording today's session, and there will be some interaction for you guys who are joining us on the webinar. So make sure your chat is open. I know Kay's going to have some opportunities for you guys to engage and answer in there. And then as we get towards the end of the program, again, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A portal and we will get those answered. I also want to make sure to note a special thank you to Leon Cares, who is our second sponsor. Many of the businesses on the call maybe were able to receive some of the small business grant funding that came through our community in the last several months. This funding was able to get to individuals, to nonprofits, to businesses from the federal level and distributed through our county that hopefully helped many of you guys keep your doors open or pay staff or whatever was needed. So we appreciate the support of Leon Cares and helping them get the information out to everyone on how to apply and be a part of that program. So again, we could not do these programs without our sponsors, and we are excited that we're able to bring you some of this information. So with that, I am going to turn it over to you, Kay, and you can share your screen and take it away.
Thank you, Dana. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Our topic, as you know, is the first step to leadership, creating a compelling vision. Let's get that up. And I thought I had a couple of LinkedIn posts that came to me while I was preparing this presentation. I thought they set the tone nicely for today. I'm going to share those with you. All right, so our goals for today are: why is a vision and strategic plan important? How can we address our current environment that we're in? And how do we establish a vision and strategic plan? And then we'll have time for questions and comments. If you remember Alice in Wonderland, the Cheshire Cat said, "Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?" she asked. And he said, "That depends a good deal on where you want to go," was the reply. "I don't much care where," she said. "Then it doesn't matter which way you go." Alice in Wonderland. Now, but we do really care where we want to go. So we have to move on from our Wonderland into what we really want to happen in our lives and organizations. And at this point in time, with all these unknowns going on in our life, our visioning and planning is really more important than ever. Sure, it can't be 5 and 10-year planning, perhaps, like we used to do, but we can't just operate on autopilot anymore. We need to know quickly when we need to make a change. And we have to manage now in all these remote environments. Before, it was pretty easy. We could walk in the next room, and management while walking around was said to be the best way to manage folks. But now we're on these webinars, people are miles away, and if we don't plan certain times to talk to each other, our communication can lapse really very quickly. Now we've got also, amidst all the stress that's going on these days, what happens is our human behavior actually changes. What we're conditioned, the way we're conditioned by the time we're 5 years old, gives us natural styles we deal with on a daily basis. And those styles will change for many of us when we're under stress. Sometimes it's in a good way, and sometimes it's in a bad way, depending on our circumstances, what we're trying to attain. So what we're also doing with our visioning and planning these days is we're also communicating our direction and staying motivated. In a world where we have so many choices, we find that research shows that we have a lot of difficulty making decisions. So having some vision and planning and direction so we can narrow our choices are very important. Otherwise, we find ourselves paralyzed. Another really important part of visioning and planning for now is overcoming our unconscious bias that we're also conditioned with early on, we may not even be aware of. And as we globalize and can talk across countries and cultures, and this visioning and planning and understanding our unconscious bias is even more important. And then, of course, staying abreast of cultural changes and technology advancements. So taking the time to stop what we're doing, slow down, quit doing the same thing we've done every minute of every hour of every day, and just have some time with those we think are our best team ever to vision and plan is really more important than ever. If any of you at this time, it's a good time, if you've done some vision and planning recently, why don't you put that out there for your colleagues so they know that you're somebody that they can share some ideas with. Now, how do you address the current environment? So the most important thing is to show those around that we care. We have a tendency when we're under stress to move more quickly or withdraw, do things we don't normally do. So it's a really particularly good time to stop and look around and say to those around us, okay, yes, we care, to your employees, to your family, to your staff. Another really important thing right now is to know the strengths of your team. Because our natural behaviors are changing somewhat, the strengths of the team may not be the same for your current circumstances. So taking some time, again, to do some team building, there may be, it's a good time to perhaps bring some coaching, some actual training into your companies. It may seem like you don't want to spend the money at the time, but this may be the best time ever to make a bit of investment in your team and make some adjustments to what's going on right now. Some different types of coaching and training that would help. Emotional intelligence, helping us understand why we have some of the emotions we have. Stress management, diversity and inclusion, new technology. We're all having to learn new technology right now. And of course, organization and time management. We're not being able to walk around our offices, shake hands with people, And we really have to do a little more planning and scheduling and figuring out what we've got to do in the next day, the next week. And sometimes we don't really know what that's going to be. So we're going to move this visioning and planning that I'm saying is so important right now, is making us move to where maybe we think we don't have any choices. We're being controlled by this COVID-19 virus out there. We're being controlled by all these changes going on in our environment. But we do have an opportunity to really decide what are some of our desired results that we want to have. Some of the greatest things have happened during times of reflection and during recessions. My husband and I had a occasion that a couple weeks ago. We go out for drives just to get out of the house. We're trying to keep it, not live in fear, but try to keep our risk at a minimum. And so it's nice to go out for drives. And he discovered Oliver Farms up in Georgia. And we drove up to see these farms. And the gentleman and his wife told us a story about during the 2008 recession, when he was trying to do traditional farming and was struggling and having a difficult time to make it. He came across the idea to do these oils. And these are artisan oils that he's making from sunflower seeds, okra seeds, pecans, and they've moved where they have a store there now. And their daughters helped them on this storm. They had a field full of beautiful sunflowers where they showed us how they grew them, showed us how they did the cold pressed oils. And this has been, I think, 12 years later, and they've been on national television. You can see their story on a show called Tastemakers. And they've also created liaisons with folks all over the world who are also doing non-traditional farm products. And he could have never, probably ever, known this would happen in his life, but it did come out. Now, could he have, and he made connections, he got out, he started thinking about desired results he wanted and making a list, and it worked for him. So think about what's really important, this planning and visioning. The reason also it's really important, we've got to figure out what's going on in our subconscious mind. 80% of what we do every day is done on autopilot. We create habits and they're very helpful. They help us get a lot done. But sometimes it's nice to come out of that and really figure out what's going on in our day. So we can dream up. Having a dream list for yourself and your company is a great idea to tap into the strength of your subconscious and motivate yourself. When we do coaching work in our network of trusted advisors, we have folks not only work on their organizational goals, we have them work on their personal goals as well. Because guess what? You and your employees are not sitting there thinking about work 8 hours straight. It's all intermingled. Your work, your personal life, what's going on in your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, it's crazily linked, all in there, a mesh of things going on. No wonder we're always in such a fix. So get started, get to know yourself. There's a professor in North Carolina who gave this great analogy for how our conscious mind and our unconscious mind work together. And he says it's like a rider and an elephant. And unless that elephant's moving along, we're really not getting anywhere. So it's a lot easier if we can engage our subconscious mind. And I told my daughter about this analogy and she said, "Oh, I know, Mom, we have to feed the elephant peanuts." And that's what we have to do. We constantly have to fill our soul, our subconscious mind to keep ourselves moving. So another part of this is to think about what emotions are guiding your actions. Sure, we all like to think we're rational creatures and we're making rational decisions, but are you taking time to slow down and think about, am I making a decision right now that's in this negative emotion area here? Or am I making decisions over here? Now, during this time, visioning and assessments and trying to do a little extra, showing we care, training and coaching, there are a lot of assessments out there you can use. They're really not that terribly expensive. One is this DISC assessment, and this one shows how the extent we're decisive, interactive, steady, or cautious. And as you can see in these colored bars, this is the person's natural style. But under stress, they change. So with this particular person, they're moderately decisive person, but they're going to make quick decisions under stress. See this gray bar? So they're going to have to be real. They just need to know that about themselves. That may be a good thing, because if they need a quick decision in an emergency situation, they're going to be able to make it. But on the other hand, maybe they're making a decision too quickly. This person's fairly an interactive person with others, but they'll draw in a little bit and get into themselves and be a little less interactive under stress. This person's a very, very steady person, very consistent, always reliable. Look how high their bar is here in green. But look what happens under stress. They're no longer that steady person that we always could rely on. They're fairly cautious. Now this person, they under stress, they pretty much will remain cautious. But wouldn't this be nice to know about yourself or those around you, how you shift when you're under stress? There's other assessments out there. There are those that tell you what motivates yourself and your employees. And times when you may not be able to give raises and bonuses, wouldn't it be nice to know what someone's other motivators are? There's also assessments that tell you how you make your decisions. So are you a rational decision maker? You're always looking for the black and white rational solution? Or are you the person who's making a decision based on your goals? Or are you making a decision based on the feelings of the people around you? Or maybe you're a triple master and you have to have all three of those realms before you're going to be comfortable making a decision. There's also a really nice assessment called the Perth Leadership Model, a gentleman out of Gainesville developed. And this model actually will tell you the extent you or your associates create value within an organization. He's found a really very small percentage of us naturally create more value than we utilize resources. Some of us will utilize a great deal of resources, and those oftentimes are people who provide a lot of quality in the organization. And then there are those who use very little resources but can create a lot of value. And some in the spectrum. So this model also will tell you if you're more a process, operational type of person, a more strategic type of person. But this is a time where you really want to make sure you're getting the right person in the right place. Now, if you all view some assessments out there in your organizations that you think are really valuable, this is a good time to go ahead on the chat and share some of those with your colleagues. For those of you who are like a mathematical formula, there is a formula for success we use within our network. And what we say is that your attitudes are the multiplier of your skills and your knowledge. And then if you actually add some goals to that mix, you're going to get positive behavioral change and improve results for your organization and personal lives. Now, again, these attitudes, think of those as habits, the way you're thinking every day. And these are probably developed at a very early age. So you really kind of have to be attuned to those and know what's They're the multiplier. You could have all the greatest skills and knowledge in the world, but if this attitude is not working for you, then your goals may not be being met. Now, you can't just take that attitude out. If your attitude that you developed early on is that I'm afraid to talk to strangers, I mean, probably your parents told you that because they wanted to keep you safe. But perhaps that makes it difficult for you to get out and meet people, present in front of people. And so that you can't just all of a sudden take that out and say, okay, I'm not going to be afraid of people any longer. What you really have to do, your brain works in a way that it will not let you leave a void. But science shows that if we actually sit down, take the time to actually write our goals, we can override some of these habits and ways we're thinking. So deploying a goal setting process within your visioning and planning is critical to overriding these habits that are going on with you and your organization. These habits can get ingrained in the culture of your organization, and writing these goals will actually be what helps shift those goals. Now, it may be that you truly have a great attitude, but you don't have the skills and knowledge. Again, this is maybe where your training and coaching comes into play. Your training and coaching is going to address all three of these aspects, and then it's combined with a goal setting process. You really can improve the results that you're getting. Think about, again, if you are wanting to sort of coach yourself in your organization, you can think about, to what extent have you reached your potential in your personal life? To what extent do you think you've reached your potential in your professional life? It's estimated we use somewhere less than 25% of our potential as human beings. You have the capability to improve all these areas of your life. The mental is your education, your learning, social, ethics, beliefs, family, physical, financial. In professional life, your people skills, your time management, sales skills, productivity. You're not stuck where you are. Even though you have these biases and natural styles that you earned early on, there is ways to tap more of your potential. And as a leader, it's your job to know how this kind of fits together, because it's your job to get people on the bus with you, going where you want your organization to go. And they need to know, where are we going? And then once you get your folks on this bus, you're challenged to keep them on there. So what happens? You've inspired with a vision, but then all of a sudden people are complaining. They're starting to get bored with the daily task of what they're doing, and they're saying, hey, I don't like this anymore. I'm feeling sick. I don't like this bus anymore. And they're starting to have turf wars. That's my seat. This is your seat. And so they're likely to hop off the bus and get on their own car. And then everybody's getting in their cars, building their own little teams, riding off into the sunset, crashing here and there. Does this sound a little familiar? It happens. Have you ever decided on the vision of where you want to go and all of a sudden realize people were going in a totally different direction than you were? They had absolutely no idea what you were doing, or you had absolutely no idea what they were doing. This is another reason to take the time to work with your personal time and time with your teams to do that visioning and planning. A little bit more about addressing the current environment. So this is a time where feedback is more important than ever. Customer loyalty has an exponential value. Keeping a current customer is way more valuable than getting a new customer. take time to make connections with who you are. What you were providing to your customers in the past may no longer be working for them in the new environment. Written surveys are great, but people have a tendency either to not do them or do them only when they're not satisfied. So if you can actually do face-to-face, make sure there's points of contact with your customer. You can talk face-to-face with them, have a conversation, get to know them. The same way with your staff and employees. There's nothing like the conversation. No, sure, we can't meet each other as often in groups, but there's always their telephone, there's always the Zoom. And of course, we have to have some bubble of people to keep us going. As personally, I know it's hard to do. It's hard for us to say, how am I doing? We're a little afraid of what somebody's going to tell us when we ask them that. But we can say, how am I doing? How are you doing? And then how are we doing? You're challenged as a leader in your organizations to know where you are in your organization, where your competition is, and where your customer, what their expectations are, what their perceived value of organization is. This is a time where in your visioning and planning, it's a good time to do some customer loyalty program training. Look at every service point in your organization. Is it when your customer walks in the door? Is it when they call your office? When they go onto your website? When they pick up, when they deliver? List those points of contact. Find out who your teams are at each of those points of contact. And consider what are the attributes your customer would be looking for at each point of the contact. Right now I'm noticing that apps that we use on our phone, the efficiency of those apps and the efficiency of websites are becoming more and more critical. And that I'm seeing that companies have an advantage if those apps are really user-friendly and really quick. Unfortunately, larger companies have an advantage in that. But if you can make an investment in that at this point in time, it's a great opportunity. Look and see, what are your customers wanting at every point? You want those customers at every point to not only be satisfied, but to be walking out of that situation and going back into the next room and telling their family and friends what an amazing experience they had with your company. This will give you that competitive edge that you're looking for. Now, what happens in difficult times is we have a traditional reaction of doing things like having a big sale, having contests, putting out prices and promotions and coupons to increase sales, and they may be helpful. But sometimes if we're just busy slashing and reducing costs, trying to save ourselves to prosperity, we can end up really demoralizing ourselves, our organization. We can lower our productivity. We lose our emotional connectivity. If we're going into a panic mode, we're no longer really in the same rational place that we need to be making good business decisions and keeping connections with our customers. We actually may lose some of our customers. So instead, take some time, sit down. You sit down with your team, or maybe your team's changed and you need to bring in some new team members or some new professionals, some new consultants to really lay out a results-oriented loyalty business model in your company, which will actually increase your revenue share, help you keep your employees, increase your profits, and shrink your costs. We all have these types of goals in our organizations as we travel through time. We want to increase sales, lower costs, new markets, new systems. We want to upgrade our equipment. But all of this has to be part of a bigger mission or vision in order to engage our subconscious to keep us motivated. And as you hear right now, motivation is key. So we need to be part of a bigger mission. So as a leader, take some time to work on your vision statement if you haven't already. It's critical. What is your organization purpose? It's got to honor your past, prepare you for the future, and it needs to be lived every day by your organization. It needs to be succinct, clear, and exciting. And you all probably heard the story about the janitor working for NASA who said his job was to put man on the moon. And I was so excited the other day when one of my staff who was doing some bookkeeping said, "Oh, I get to help children in Haiti," because she was helping a client who's not for profit help children in Haiti. So she made that connection, and that gave her a lot more reward for her day than just doing the bookkeeping, which she enjoys. But it was a greater part of a bigger vision for the world. So create, communicate. It needs to be a statement of potential. It needs to have common focus and direction. It needs to be concise and meaningful and based on your values. Take some time to write your values. It's a good time for that. We may find as human beings that we're not in our natural states, and we may be taking some risk and not being perhaps as same level of integrity as we always had in different times. Here's some great vision statement examples. Look at LinkedIn. Create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. Tesla, accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Amazon, be the Earth's most customer-centric company where customers can find and discover anything they might want to buy online. Southwest Airlines, to become the world's most loved, most flown, and most profitable airline. TED Talks, spread ideas. Inspire humanity, both in the air and on the ground. You could have personal vision statements if you like. You could say, I want to make it a perfect world. You could say, I want my children to look at me with pride. If you have a compelling vision statement for your organization, this is a good time to chat and share it with your colleagues. And you notice what all these have in common is the emotion. There's an emotion in every one of these. Now, when you're doing your strategic planning, you oftentimes see people bring folks together for a day retreat, and that's great. But what can often happen is everybody leaves, it doesn't get written up, or it gets written in a report that gets put on a shelf. So in our network, we make our strategic planning go over an 8 to 10 year period. You can kick it off with a retreat, but it needs to be weekly interfaces to actually move it towards your operational plan. You'll see people do a SWOT or a SLOT analysis, which is a great way to obtain feedback. So I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but you essentially brainstorm what are your company's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, or threats. We like to call it a SLOT analysis instead of a SWOT analysis in our organization. Instead of weakness, we like to call them limitations. Brainstorming this with your team can really give you some great ideas of where you're at as an organization. Now, some of the assessments that are out today not only will assess individuals, they will assess your organization as well. And they're quick, they're online, they're easy, and you can rate your organization in terms of how well you're doing using the Malcolm Baldrige criteria as one example. Everything has to align with your vision. Once you've got it, you need to make sure you're aligning your organizational units, your staff, your stakeholders, and you have to monitor your results and stay close to your customer. All this kind of works in a how, why fashion. This is why we're doing this, and this is how we're doing this. Drills down. You want to make sure that where your organizational units have shared goals, they know that and you manage for those shared goals. So you can have measures for all these things. You want to have the right measure at the right place. At the leadership level, they're going to be longer term measures, things that your executive management are looking at. Generally, you want a set of measures. There's never just one. You want to know, you want measures in the middle there that tell you if the services or products that you have are actually making money for you. And then on the process level, you want to know whether you're doing everything in an efficient and quality manner. There's a whole art and science to this. And when I was working with governments to do performance-based budgeting, I put together a guide and a book I call Building a Performance Framework, and it's out there on Amazon. And it is a pretty nitty-gritty how-to guide of how to develop your desired results and layer those and link them and establish a dashboard. But you need to monitor the right vital signs. The pandemic may have changed your KPIs, or they may be more focused now on your survival and your agility to move your customer, but things like customer demand and the calls, employee satisfaction may be more critical during this time. You're going to always, this alignment's important because you need to know where the power struggles are. These setting of goals, this visioning, these shared goals really will break down your turf wars and open communication in your organization and foster your teams. There's a great book out there about the value of teams. We, as individuals, we can tap way more of our potential if we surround ourselves with a good team. All right, getting close to wrapping up here. Let's talk briefly about the way that we learn, because as you're communicating your vision and your strategic planning, you need to know that just because you told your child once, you didn't tell them 1,000 times like your mother told you. You have to tell yourself, your staff, your children at least 6 or 7 times, or they're not going to get it. Repetition is 96% of the ways that we learn. So don't worry if you're repeating yourself. Repeat it over and over. Post it. Stream it. Feel like you're just saying it a million trillion times. That's how we mostly learn. We also learn by impact. We're going to all remember where we were during COVID-19. We remember where we were during 9/11, or when if you're old enough, when man first landed on the moon. We remember what our pastor or a president that inspired us said. But those are only 2% of the time. So keep repeating your message. So lean forward, get to know others, listen, inform. Heed the words of David Bowie. He said, "Tomorrow belongs to those that can hear it coming." And if you watch CBS Sunday Morning this past week, Leonard Lauder, who was his mom, Estee Lauder, he's a philanthropist. He said at the end of his life, the message in his bottle was, he listened and he was kind. And may you be the king of your dreams. What you can do now, surround yourself with friends, be courageous, and keep yourself moving. And I've enjoyed being with you today. Our K. Kendrick Enterprises, we help communities, organizations, and individuals get the results they dream about and provide these services. And I'm ready for your questions and comments.
Thank you, Kay. There is one question in the chat that I do see. So as we look at that one, if anybody else has questions, please go ahead and pop those in and we will get to them. But someone asked, Joni asked, what is the book you recommend for teams?
The first thing that comes to mind is some of Patrick Lencioni's work. The name of his book's not coming to me at this point in time, but that's the one I would pick up. Just Patrick Lencioni, Lencioni.
Okay. And then,
yeah.
so I would also say when we send out the recording, if between now and then, which will probably be sometime tomorrow, if you think of any, we can pop those in the email that we
Okay.
send to everyone that will have the link and any of those other resources.
Right. And we do, yes, various coaching programs have team building coaching programs as well.
Let's see. Looks like we might have. Someone did make a suggestion, the 5 dysfunctions of a team.
That's it. That's Patrick's work, right?
Oh, okay, there you go. That's a great book. So look, we're team working in the chat. This is great.
That's great.
Question, as someone in leadership, but not the CEO, do you have strategies for how to manage up and get shared value from the CEO on the importance of strategic planning?
The things really do work better when they come from the top, but obviously it doesn't always happen that way. I would take time to sit down with the CEO and ask him a lot of questions about his vision and the results he wants to attain, and write them down, give them back to him and say, this is what I heard, and get reinforcement. Then you can take it down to your team and get their feedback on what their vision and results are. See how those two blend, how well they align. And then based on the feedback you get from below, then since you've taken the time to listen to your CEO, he would probably be more likely to be receptive then to having some feedback that aligns with his vision and goal from the bottom up. That's how I would try to work that.
Well, we will give it just a second to see if there is anything else, but those were the 2 that were in our portal. Again, we are recording this, so we will get this exported out and sent to everybody who registered. And then we'll try to include some of those. Again, the book was in here, but for the people who just watched the recording, we will make sure to give that book to you guys. And then I will say thank you all for joining us today. Thank you to Leon Cares and to Capital Health Plan for sponsoring our program. And we just appreciate, Kay, we appreciate your time and joining us and sharing your expertise with us. And we look forward to seeing you guys all maybe in person soon. We do have some socially distanced things that will be coming up. We will also continue to offer a digital option for everyone. So please take a look at the calendar. I hope everyone has a great weekend. I hope many of you get some relaxation and family time next week for Thanksgiving. We are grateful for you as members. We are grateful for you to be a part of our business community. So I hope everyone has a great day. Stay safe and be well, and we will see you soon.
And if you all reach out to me at the email address or phone below, I'll be happy to get back with you on your unique situations you may have questions about.
Great. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.